Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. It's Tori, and I mean, I would try to justify myself, but there's really no point. I'm going to share with you guys all of the books that I have been gifted and or purchased in the last couple of months. As a small point of defense, it was my birthday month in May, so I did purchase a good chunk of this stack on that day specifically. But this is still a lot of books, you guys, so Novia, you're going to be very helpful, I'm sure. Okay. This is Novia. Hi, Novia. Hi. You happy? So one of the things I tried to do this year was to purchase less books in general, but also when I purchase books, being much more intentional about it and less impulsive. And part of that was purchasing books primarily that are by authors that I have already read, people I know. I'm still within the bounds of what I'm comfortable with, and then after this I will probably try to reduce the number of books I'm bringing in even more for the rest of the year. But I am really excited. Yes, honey, I know you're very happy. Honey, stop bumping the table. Okay, so I am very excited about a bunch of these books, and I would love to show them to you, but I can't because my current job is that I must give chin scratches. Okay, I love you so much. Can I show them the books now? Is that okay? Can you just sit down? Can we just sit down? Fabulous. All right, so the first things that I'm going to show you guys are books that I was gifted for my birthday. So the first one I received as a gift from my friend Sal was Soulless by Gail Carriger. This is a paranormal romance with werewolves and vampires and parasols, according to the front of the book. So Sal convinced me to at least try this book, and as you guys know, romance is definitely a hit or miss genre for me, mostly miss, and I don't read it very often, but this year I am trying to expand a little bit and read some things that my friends are reading outside of genres I'm more comfortable in, so I am excited to give this a try and see what it's all about. And she also very nicely sent me a copy of James Clavell's Noble House, which is part of the Asian saga that Shogun is in, and I am very excited to read the rest of those books. I have no idea when I'm going to get to them, but I am really excited to continue on with the series. Next up, I received this absolutely beautiful UK edition of White Fang by Jack London. And this was from my good friend Matt from Matt on Books, and he found this beautiful cover edition and thought I needed to have it, and he was absolutely right, and I'm so excited because, as you guys know, this is one of my favorite books of all time, and this cover is just chef's kiss. I love it so much. And then finally, I received the last Herald Mage of Valdemar trilogy by Mercedes Lackey. This is a trilogy of books in a bound-up omnibus edition that I received from my good friend Casey from Bookishly Bookish, and this is one of her favorite trilogies of all time. I had no idea where to start with Mercedes Lackey. I didn't know when and if I was ever going to get to her books, just because with a lot of these authors there's just so much, it can be hard to know where to start. And she said that this is her favorite trilogy by far, and so she very kindly gifted me the last Herald Mage trilogy, and I'm really excited to read it. And I love omnibus editions like this where you can split it up into multiple books. It's not going to take me very long to read, and I'm looking forward to it. Now we're going to move on to the books that I purchased this month, and there's a lot of them, so buckle up. The first one was Janny Wirt's Cycle of Fire. This is the omnibus edition that has all 3 books in it. This one I've been wanting to get for a while because I am slowly collecting most of her work. I only have the first 2 books of her Wars of Light and Shadow series, but I'm not sure exactly when I'm going to get to that one specifically, and this one I think is going to end up on my TBR a little bit sooner. So I'm really excited to read this. I know my friend Andrew from Andrew's Wizardly Reads really enjoyed it, so looking forward to checking that one out. Next up, I got this book that was this is probably the most impulse buy out of the entire stack, to be honest, because I read the back on Amazon, and I can't even remember where I found it, but it just sounded really, really interesting. And I have been wanting to read some sci-fi, and I do enjoy a good post-apocalyptic story. So this story is about a young boy who is being protected in the post-apocalypse by his anthropomorphic tiger. And they're basically trying to undertake this journey across a wasteland, a very dangerous wasteland. And I think it's just going to be really, really emotional and beautiful. And I'm really excited about it. The premise sounded really interesting. And it's kind of a situation where robots are taking over and it's apocalyptic and things. So I am excited to read this, and it's going to be a good short read for me this summer. Next up is a book that comes highly recommended from my friend Casey, who gave me the Mercedes Lackey trilogy, and also Janny Wirtz herself, and that is Song of the Beast by Carol Berg. This is the story of a bard who was lauded for his talents, and then he was completely inexplicably thrown into a brutal imprisonment. Nobody is back. And horribly abused and tortured for years and years and years. And when he is let go, there are pursuers that come after him to try to imprison him again. And so he is kind of forced on this path to discovering what on earth is the truth about why he's been imprisoned and why he suddenly is hated, and he still doesn't know what his crime is. Novia Rose, sit down. She's gonna knock my camera over, you guys. So anyways, I think that this is going to check a lot of boxes for me. I'm really excited about it. It's not very long, and this comes incredibly highly recommended. Next up is a book that I was talked into reading here in June with my friend Murphy from Murphy Napier. And I'm going to regret this, you guys. I'm absolutely going to regret this. I try really hard to be open-minded with every read that I pick up, but oh my goodness, I'm going to regret this. Even people who like romantasy have told me that I'm going to regret this. And Murphy convinced me to buddy read Bride by Allie Hazelwood with her. And this is the story of a vampire princess who is married off to a werewolf prince, and there's a, like, dark, sinister things going on in the background, and you guys, this is a thing, it's gonna happen, and I'm warning you all ahead of time. This is gonna be an interesting experience. I was in the middle of reading The Ship of Magic when I picked these up at Barnes & Noble, and I purchased the entire set of the Live Ship Traders in these beautiful paperbacks, and I love them to bits and pieces. However, I ended up really not loving Ship of Magic, as you can see in my review of it. Had a whole big talk with Derry, who is the resident expert on Queen Hob, and I don't know if I'm going to finish this trilogy. I think I may just move right on to Tawny Man and not finish Live Ships, because I really did not have a great experience with Ship of Magic. And so I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with these yet, but I own them for the time being. And I do think that these books are really, really beautiful. I love this kind of minimalistic design for Robin Hobb's books. I really love them a lot. But I found a place where I can get them from the UK versions instead, which I actually like better. And I'll show you why in a second. Because I also purchased the Tawny Man trilogy, which is the trilogy after Live Ship Traders in Realm of the Elderlings. And as you can see, these have this beautiful gold foiling on them and on the front, and they're just prettier in general. And I actually like the size a little bit better. You can see where the US editions are a little bit thinner and a little bit taller, but I actually really like the size of these paperbacks. So I am going to read Tawny Man, and I'm really looking forward to moving on in the series. I just don't know if Live Ships is going to be completed. The next one that I purchased is How Green Was My Valley by Richard Llewellyn. This is an old black and white film that I saw when I was a kid, and I remember it being incredibly gripping and heartbreaking. And it's a story of coal mining in the area of South Wales. And it's told from the perspective of a young boy, and there's some, how to put this without spoilers, there's some catastrophes that happen, and it's kind of a mixture of coming of age and this beautiful surrounding area, but also the struggle of the coal miners and that kind of thing. So I wanted to read this just because I remembered seeing the movie when I was young, and it really left an impact on me emotionally. And so when I found out that it was also a book, I wanted to grab it as a non-fantasy read sometime in the near future. Next up, I repurchased a book, and I bought Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, and this is a book by Susanna Clarke, who is also the author of the well-beloved Piranesi. And this is a friend of mine, Andrew D. Meredith, who's a fellow fantasy author, really, really loves this book. And the way that he described it made me want to read it again after I had owned it a long time ago and resold it because I just wasn't feeling like I was going to love it. But after hearing his explanation of it and how much he appreciated the story, I decided to give it another shot. So I did pick up another copy of Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. After that, I picked up Too Like the Lightning by Ada Palmer. This one was kind of an impulse buy also because I know literally nothing about Ada Palmer's work, and the Terra Ignota trilogy in general, I think it's a trilogy, I'm not sure about this one, only because I know that it's more of a philosophical sci-fi, and it's going to depend on how deeply philosophical this book goes and how kind of meta it is going to be, because that's not really the kind of story that I'm interested in reading. But I thought I would give her a try and just see what happens. I have no idea, absolutely no idea what to expect. I know nothing about this trilogy, so we'll see what I think of it. Next up, I did pick up a couple more Juliette Marillier books that were on sale on Book Outlet, and that is the books 2 and 3 of the Warrior Bards series trilogy. And it's A Song of Flight is book number 3, and A Dance with Fate is book number 2. The Harp of Kings, I believe, is book number 1, and I still need to hunt that one down, but I now have these two, and with those, I own probably 3/4 of Juliette Marillier's work now, and I purchased all of those after having read one book by her. So she's amazing. I really loved getting a chance to chat with her in the interview, and Daughter of the Forest is still one of my top reads for the year so far. I love it, and I'm really looking forward to reading more of her work. Next up, I picked up a copy of Taipan by James Clavell. This is book 2 in the Asian saga and takes place after Shogun. And I have heard a lot of people say that they actually prefer Taipan to Shogun, which is kind of amazing to me because I loved Shogun. So I'm really excited to read Taipan. I'm really looking forward to it. I think that this is going to be a really fun read, and it's going to be nice to dig into some chunkier historical fiction when I get this far. Next up, I purchased book 3 in the Risen Kingdoms trilogy, The Last Uncharted Sky by Curtis Craddock. This one I know was going around BookTube a little bit last year, and I've had it on my TBR for literally ages. It was one of the first Book Outlet box books that I got, I'm pretty sure, and I'm really excited about it because it's a fantasy sort of inspired by French Revolution era history, and I love that idea. I'm here for like a Musketeers fantasy. I cannot wait, and they're not very long, so I think it's going to be a really, really fun trilogy to binge when I get that far. Next up, I picked up a copy of the newest book from one of my favorite historical fiction writers, and that is Lady Tan's Circle of Women by Lisa C. Lisa C does such a good job of showcasing Asian history and Chinese history specifically through the eyes of friendships. And broken friendships and close friendships and sibling bonds. Like, she just does such a good job of showing relationships within the history that she writes. And this one is about a young noblewoman who's being taught and educated about the properties of healing by her grandmother alongside a young friend of hers, and their lives become intertwined, and I'm just so excited to read another Lisa C book. I can't wait, because I really truly think that she's one of the best generational historical fiction writers that I've read so far. She does a beautiful job of showing really intimate viewpoints of history through multiple generations sometimes, or over a whole lifetime, and I highly, highly recommend her work. The book that I would recommend starting on for her if you want to read her work is The Tea Girl of Hummingbird Lane. She's also very well known for Snowflower and The Secret Fan, but I personally liked Tea Girl of Hummingbird Lane even a little bit better. So when we went out bookstore shopping for my birthday, I picked up the entire Death Cycle. I'm pretty sure there's only 4, unless I'm missing one somewhere around here. But the Death Cycle by Terry Pratchett. This is a series that takes place within his Discworld huge set of books. There's like 41 of them. And I'm very excited to read these. I read Guards earlier this year, and it's one of my favorite reads so far this year. Loved his work, and having that nostalgic edition of growing up around British humor, it's just incredible, and I cannot wait to read more of it. So I picked up the Death Cycle, and I also picked up all of the City Watch series that I didn't have yet. These are the books that take place after Guards, and I am planning on listening to at least 2 of them on Ben and my trip in June. I cannot wait. I love this series so far, and I cannot wait to keep going with it. The next one that we picked up was And Put Away Childish Things by Adrian Tchaikovsky. So Adrian Tchaikovsky has written in so many different genres, it's kind of crazy. And I have already read Guns of the Dawn by him, which is a flintlock fantasy, and also his short novella Ogres. I know nothing about this book, and I'm kind of excited about that because I like going into books completely blind whenever I can, and this is one that my husband had heard recommended to him, and I was like, hey, it's Adrian Tchaikovsky, let's get it and read it. So I'm excited to read that one. You guys, we finally got to the last book on the list, and that is Anthony Ryan's The Waking Fire, which is book 1 of the Draconis Memoriam, I think is the name of the series. I don't know anything about this, but look at this cover, you guys. Like, I absolutely loved Bloodsong by Anthony Ryan, and when I saw this beautiful, brand new hardcover secondhand for a ridiculously good steal, I couldn't say no. Because even though dragons aren't like why I love fantasy, I can't say no to that. So I'm very excited to read this and get into some more Anthony Ryan in the next year or so. And this was just way too beautiful of a copy to pass up. That is all of the books that I have purchased or been sent in the last couple of months. Any book hauls that I do moving forward are definitely going to be smaller. This will probably be my biggest one for the year, and that is okay. Let me know down in the comments if you've gotten any new exciting books lately or any that you are looking forward to getting. Yeah, drop those down in the comments. I hope you guys are having a great week. I hope you are all reading 5-star reads, and I will see you in the next video.